Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. One of the surprises of the 2023 season for the Auburn Tigers was linebacker Eugene Asante really emerging as one of the best linebackers, not only in the SEC, but in the country. And Dill, diving into Eugene Asante in the film, what excites me most about him is that there's still a lot of meat left on the bone in terms of what he can be when he polishes kind of his skill set at that linebacker spot. You saw some flashes of absolute brilliance from Eugene Asante. And I think for a lot of Auburn fans and probably Eugene Asante himself, he comes back for 2024 to kind of make that a little bit more consistent part of his game. Want to get into the film of Eugene Asante, talk a little bit about what he brings to the table for the Auburn Tigers. Before we do, and as always, just want to say thank you to you guys and a massive shout out to the Auburn fans, whether we're talking the recruiting trail, the transfer portal, the amount of support the Auburn fans have shown the boys truly does mean a lot. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And more importantly, any other players you guys want us to take a look at, let us know in the comment section. Dill, we got Keldrick Falk up next, a guy that I'm very excited to crunch the film on. But Eugene Asante right now, I'm going to give you the T-box. Going back and watching him a little in 2023, how are we feeling?
I think you kind of said it right. I think when you take like more of a fan perspective, like what I watched over the season of Auburn, I mean, he popped out to me. I was like, who's this guy flying around making these plays, looking like, I mean, when you saw like Harold Perkins making those plays a couple of years ago, just like really flying around, chasing guys down, running them down from behind, that's kind of what you saw from Eugene Asante. I mean, when you get into the film, you obviously see those plays, of course, but you kind of see what you kind of were saying. Like there's a lot of room for growth, a lot of room to kind of become that real stud play in and play out where you have less of those plays that like make you scratch your head or those plays you really just can't have.
And we'll get into those. I want to start with what Eugene Asante does best, and we'll get into some of the things that we want to see him polish up in 2024. But when I talk about Eugene Asante and when I watch the film on him from 2023, I don't only see an off-ball linebacker. I see an elite caliber athlete that really can impact the game in a multitude of different ways. And what excites me the most is DJ Durkin. You take a look at what he did with those Texas A&M linebackers. I would hope he can tap that into Eugene Asante in 2024.
And you're right. The way Edgerrin Cooper played last year, I mean, he really had a great year. Kind of another guy who emerged from a point at Texas A&M where he wasn't like that guy. And then under Durkin, he really had a great year in very similar athletic traits, very rangy, very explosive. He's just got to pull out what was pulled out of Edgerrin Cooper, got to get pulled out of Asante. And then you're looking at one of the top guys in the conference.
And one of the things that excites me the most is what he can do blitzing the quarterback. And again, I don't think we saw as much Eugene Asante blitzing as I would have liked to see. He only rushed the passer 54 times, but Dill was second in the team in quarterback hurries, was 16th, third in the team with 5 sacks, a 13% pass rush win rate. When you have the explosiveness that Eugene Asante has, you want to try to get that utilized as much as possible. You kind of take a look at some of the film. He is a cannon, a shot out of a cannon. I think I got that term right when it comes to blitzing those A and B gaps, gets to the ball, has a phenomenal closing speed. You see this all over the film. And when I watch Eugene Asante, I think that there's a lot of meat left on the bone in terms of what he can do as a blitzing linebacker. You check out another piece of the film here. He is so fast at closing the distance between himself and the quarterback from that off-ball linebacker spot. DJ Durkin did that type of stuff a lot with those Texas A&M linebackers. I look for him to utilize Eugene Asante in a very similar way.
Yeah, I mean, Cooper had a ton of sacks, and I think you kind of like saw the things you need to see, which is if you go and you're free, you need to get there quickly, because if you're free, that probably means somebody's open or someone has a good matchup. And you see a lot of players at college football, especially, like when they come, they're too slow or they're hesitant. I mean, you see the explosiveness, the acceleration, that burst. Like he has what it takes to be that elite blitzing linebacker. I'm kind of with you. Like, why not use a little more? Because not that many guys can get there in the time that you need to get there to make the plays. I mean, if you're there a half second late, you have problems. He's just not there half second late.
Yeah, Eugene Asante, very quick to the quarterback. I think the second thing that, and this is probably my favorite attribute of Eugene Asante and something that I think is extremely coveted this era of college football, and that is the range, right? When you're a linebacker, you're asked to do a lot of different things go tackle running backs in the flat, go spy the quarterback, go sideline to sideline when teams are trying to get to the perimeter on you. Eugene Asante does that in a phenomenal way. You're really looking at, in my mind, from the film. I'm really excited to see what he runs at the 40 in the combine next year. You're looking at one of the fastest linebackers in all of college football. You have a 3rd and 4 here. He drops back in coverage, but you see the closing speed on full display for Eugene Asante, right? You freeze frame this right here. That seems like an easy first down for Connor Wigman. Eugene Asante closing the distance at an exceptional level. I believe Connor Wigman still ends up picking this first down up, but you kind of see on the film that the speed that Eugene Asante has is just kind of at another level for the Auburn Tigers.
And that ranginess is becoming so important in college football, and to have that type of linebacker who can do it. And you've seen that kind of all across. You saw it a lot against Cal. That's kind of where a bit of a dogfight for Auburn. So we were all kind of watching it late at night that day. You kind of saw him popping off like, this guy can really run. He can get across the field. He can make plays all over. And that, again, that's probably what most piqued everyone's, or at least certainly our perspective.
Certainly for us, yeah.
Our interest in the Eugene Asante. It's like, man, this guy can cover a lot of ground.
And you want to see, I think that's a perfect example to bring up, because you want to see that kind of Eugene Asante on the field every single Saturday, which I don't think we necessarily saw. Another really good example, Jaylen Millero, one of the best pure athletes in college football. There aren't many linebackers in the country that can make these kind of plays, right? You fire up the film here, kind of playing, he gets Jaylen Millero in space here, gets a little in the pump fake, but the closing speed that he has to continue to pursue and go get Jaylen Millero, extremely high quality. And Dill, that kind of brings up another point for Eugene Asante. The motor runs extremely hot. This dude plays with his hair on fire. And when those instincts come along at a little bit of a higher level, that's when I think that true potential for Eugene Asante going to get unlocked.
Well, and that's what you kind of talk about. Like, you probably want to see a little bit more control. Because, again, when you're that athletic, you can play in control and play with the speed you need to. He doesn't need to play outside of himself or get, like, again, even watching that play, like, he can probably stalk down Millero across the line a little bit better. Obviously a good enough athlete, even though he overran it at first, to still hawk him down. But you think, like, some of those plays, especially on some of those pitches and when he's navigating through traffic, if he can just control it a little bit more, he has plenty of athleticism. I don't think he needs to play out of control. That's kind of some of the things you're looking for, again, to take that next step and be mentioned more in the top, not just the top, one of the top Auburn linebackers, but one of the top guys in the country, if not the.
And that's, I think, a massive quality of a linebacker that we don't talk about enough in the college football world. Is I think a lot of the emphasis goes on to the speed, to the athleticism, all of which Eugene Asante, in my mind, the top of the end in terms of college football. I think a lot of it's between the ears, right? Picking through traffic, making sure you're good in the run fits. That's where you want Eugene Asante to maybe take some of those strides. The last thing I want to talk about that I think is just extremely impressive, and these type of plays are not necessarily going to make the highlight reels, but these are massive plays for linebackers in the modern day of college football. You're going to be asked to drop in coverage a lot, and the idea of Eugene Asante closing the distance on a guy like Anaya Smith, making an open field tackle, that's Jade Walker. And Dill, the next exact play, Eugene Asante in a very similar situation where he's in space with a slot wide receiver. And a lot of times these wide receivers are running away from linebackers. Not Eugene Asante. This is a guy that has a 6.3% missed tackle rate, a phenomenal tackler when he has the opportunities. Evan Stewart, one of the best running back or wide receivers in the country, makes an open field tackle on him. Those are the type of things that you don't see in a lot of college football linebackers, but Eugene Asante has that type of capability.
And that's what you talk about. Those are the rare traits that you see, and they pop off, especially when you're kind of more casually watching. You notice him. You're just making those plays that not many linebackers can make. Again, the key will be playing the linebacker position where when you're digging into the film, more reps are really, really good, unless are kind of ones you want back. Probably.
Now, the one thing that I think Eugene Asante, probably the biggest thing that when we were doing this deep dive, and Dale, you texted me this last night, and I decided I kind of agree. I want to highlight it. How does Eugene Asante take that next step, right? He was a very good linebacker for Auburn in 2023, but I think both you and I agree he can be great in 2024. The one thing that I think he lacks, and again, this is just, I think, maybe putting some more weight on, getting stronger at the point of attack, does not take on blocks as well as you might want from a guy that has the power in his hands that he does. You see him sometimes shock blockers, be able to get off blocks, but it's not on a consistent basis enough. You fire up this piece of film here, and I mean, this is kind of a basic kickout block where you need to make sure the running back does not get to your outside shoulder, and you see the H-back come around, kick him out, gives up contain. You want to see him be a little bit more physical, dealing with some of those blockers. The next play here, again, very similar where you're working on a tight end at the second level. You got to be able to figure out how to get off this block, right? And you see him kind of just get physically, I wouldn't say dominated, but he definitely doesn't win that kind of rep. You want to see Eugene Asante get a little stronger at the point of attack. And again, I don't think it's a physical shortcoming because you see him, he's extremely physical at the point of attack at times. You want to see him get more consistent when it comes to getting involved in the run game and taking on blocks.
And I think there's an element of like getting to your spot a little quicker, kind of what we saw from Edgerrin Cooper, because Edgerrin Cooper a little bit leaner, similar to Eugene Asante in terms of the build, but he was getting to the spot really, really quick, using his athleticism to not necessarily physically be blockers, but being there quick enough to make plays that you're supposed to make. And again, I'm kind of with you. Eugene Asante, when he does it right or looking like one of his better reps, I mean, he really can put a charge in linemen and do a good job. I think it would really help his game, again, building on those instincts in terms of getting to where he's got to get to a little bit quicker. I think that puts him immediately in an advantageous spot against opposing offensive linemen and tight ends. And that's probably the thing that I think you should have, because again, when you're that athletic and that have that much acceleration, you should be able to get to your spots quick and put yourselves in better positions than that one against Texas A&M, where that tight end just got on him kind of late in the play and just kind of mauled him a little.
And I think that comes with reps. Like, again, how do you develop instincts at the linebacker position? It comes through game reps. And a guy like Eugene Asante wasn't exactly a guy that had played a lot of football up until this point, a little bit of a late bloomer. The more reps that he gets, I think the better you see him get involved in kind of what you said, get to his spots a little bit earlier. Dill, what I'm most excited for, and we'll kind of close it out on this, I can't wait to see what DJ Durkin does with these backers. Like, you go back to the Texas A&M film, Edgerrin Cooper, Torian York, some of the best linebackers that we saw in the country last year. DJ Durkin did a phenomenal job saying, hey, we got two linebackers that can impact the game at a high level. We're going to put them in spots where they can go impact a football game. Eugene Asante. And I throw in a guy like Austin Keys, two of the better blitzing linebackers that you have in the country, paired up with the defensive coordinator that wants to let those linebackers go run free, take the leash off them. Eugene Asante, Austin Keys, some of the best blitzing linebackers that you have in the country, getting matched up with DJ Durkin, who wants to let them off the leash. Really excited to see how that one plays out. Going to be a fun storyline to follow in spring practice. We'll cut it there again. Appreciate you guys rocking with the fellas. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Keldrick Falk is up next for the deep dive. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.